Something strange is going on with Cyberpunk 2077. About a month ago, I compiled all of the ongoing evidence that something new might be coming to Cyberpunk. But since that video, we have had several more just generally odd or curious updates pointing towards something. Lots of fans are of course hopeful for some kind of new DLC, but even just another new update seems very possible at this point. So let's break this all down. The first of these updates probably being the strangest. About 2 weeks ago on May 6th, Cyberpunk 2077 was updated on Steam. This really just being a visual change. The icon for the game, as well as the background image while it's in your library, were changed. So now the logo would appear as black and blue as opposed to that iconic yellow, and the background image was just reverted to an older one with V off to the side instead of V being centered. While the game icon was updated to the more modern look that always reminds me of a sandwich. None of this truly being new. We've seen all of these assets before used in various things, but it does beg the question, why on earth is the Steam page for a 5-year-old game being randomly updated right now? This all just completely came out of left field, but it did feel like a fairly notable store page update. It's not like one thing was changed, but several. So many were assuming this was updating some assets in preparation for some type of new launch on Steam. Whether this just be a new update, a new edition of the game, sort of like that Ultimate Edition we got in 2023, or even something more. Except it only got a bit stranger as the next day after that, almost all of this was reverted. The backgrounds and logos were changed back to their original versions from a day earlier, while the game's icon was reverted to the original from release. Instead of being male V's head, it was changed to female V looking over her shoulder. So the icon did genuinely change from all of this. If you play Cyberpunk 2077 on Steam, the icon is just different now. And since all of that, things have largely just stayed the same. There are of course more movements on SteamDB, but nothing public facing that we could dive into. We know the Mac version's on the way, so that could explain all of the Steam movement, but it also could be something more. We really just can't tell as of right now. So typically, while this would be assumed to be nothing, just some random changes around a game, with all of these other clues that something is going on with Cyberpunk 2077, it just feels impossible to ignore this. It honestly just feels like CDPR is messing with us at this point. Thankfully, the next strange update doesn't come from CDPR at all, but instead, all of these people going to Poland right now. Over the past few weeks, several notable names and faces have been spotted in Poland, which is of course where CDPR's headquarters is located. Parris of Kinda Funny Games posted about going to the CDPR offices, with him being a game journalist. Lots of fans were wondering if this was some kind of preview or hands-on for The Witcher 4, or maybe even something secret around Cyberpunk. Alex Jordan was there, this being the voice actor for Mr. Hands in game, but that wasn't even the only voice actor, as also Marta, whose last name I'm not going to even attempt to pronounce, who is the Polish voice actress for Judy, also posted an interesting video in Polish. And even Mike Pondsmith, the original creator of Cyberpunk, was in Poland giving a talk. So as you could likely imagine, all of these notable names and faces around Cyberpunk and really just gaming overall being in or around Poland felt notable. Fans speculating that there could be some kind of hands-on event occurring, but sadly, the first half of these is likely nothing related to Cyberpunk, and probably not even related to CDPR. The reason both Parris and Alex Jordan were likely in Poland was revealed a couple of days later, as a hands-on event for the Alters was also going on. Parris was playing the game as a games journalist, and Alex Jordan is literally in the game. Parris likely just visiting CDPR as a guest or fan. He likely just knows a couple of people at CDPR and asked if he could visit their offices while in town. But this video from Marta does feel like something more notable. She's wearing one of the Cyberpunk 2077 jackets and pretty explicitly gesturing towards the logos on that jacket with a big wink, while the text on screen describes what she is working on. It's of course in Polish, and a few translations have been posted around, but the general gist is that she is saying she has been on set working, but has to keep her phone away, so updates have been slow, and how we'll have to wait some time to see what she is working on, but she is growing closer and closer with the new female character she is playing, with the follow-up video saying that she can't reveal details now, but she hopes we will see ourselves reflected in this character she's playing like a mirror. So yeah, that's a big one. This seems like a pretty clear and obvious indication that something Cyberpunk is being worked on right now, and the fact that one of the voice actors from the original game is involved could open up a lot of possibilities here. What we know about right now is that a live action project from Anonymous Content is coming. We know it's Cyberpunk, but we don't actually know if it's a series or movie, and in reality, outside of the announcement, we have gotten no further updates on this one, so it's been years now. It seems like it's still moving forward, but I kind of doubt they're filming already. And separately, Netflix also announced that last year, a new Cyberpunk anime was coming, with CDPR saying at the end of 2024, they saw good updates around the project. And that does seem like what is being talked about here, or at least the most likely candidate. The clapperboard in particular feels like a really big clue that this is a film or TV show and not a game-related project. Although, yeah, obviously they still use clapperboards for some of the mocap for video game stuff. And to me, Marta is clearly indicating that this is a Cyberpunk-related project. She's likely doing the Polish voice work for one of the main new characters in the anime, as that is one of the few things that we do get revealed here, that this is a new character according to her quote. But it still could be really interesting for Cyberpunk 2077. A couple of weeks ago, we got this birthday calendar with 6 encrypted slots. Why are the birthdays for a 5-year-old game being kept secret? That just seems like kind of a weird move. Well, maybe it's because those 6 new slots are 6 new characters from a new anime series around Cyberpunk. Obviously, we hear about how this is still a ways away from Marta even here, but December 10th, the game's 5-year anniversary, feels like a really good opportunity to drop a new Netflix series, while also having some kind of tie-in update for the game. With just how much of a boost Edgerunners brought to Cyberpunk 2077's base player count, I just have to imagine CDPR is planning some sort of tie-in for this new project. They already saw how much of a boost it could lead to, they likely want to get in on that at least somewhat with something in-game. One of the big issues when speculating about future updates for Cyberpunk 2077 is the voice work. This game's been translated into a ton of languages now, so if you're releasing an update that has new character voices, you need to rehire all of those original voice actors to re-voice lines for those characters. I think this is an aspect of game dev that a lot of fans are just completely overlooking. Like, yeah, sure, if you want some new Judy or Panam voice lines for those cool romance interactions, that means CDPR would have to hire those same voice actresses to revoice those lines in every single language Cyberpunk's translated to. But if you're doing a completely new piece of content and recording all of that voice work right now, that becomes a lot easier. My personal dream would be to have a really cool side-by-side inclusion. You actually get to watch the anime on Netflix, but then could go in game and do some quests or gigs with those same characters. Obviously, nothing like that is explicitly confirmed here, but at the very least, we do know that work on something Cyberpunk is happening right now. But of course, the last major presence in Poland was none other than Mike Pondsmith himself, the creator of Cyberpunk, and somebody we know is working on Cyberpunk Orion and likely somewhat involved in all of these other projects as well. While in Poland, Mike Pondsmith spoke at Digital Dragons 2025 and shared some pretty interesting details on the Cyberpunk sequel, which is currently in development, and this is actually a really important time to hear about this game. In their last earnings call from a couple of months ago, CDPR said that right now, Orion would be transitioning into pre-production. That's why we've seen a ton of job listings for the game, but this means that the concept of what Orion will be is already established. And now more of the nitty-gritty as far as the world and scope of the game is being ironed out. It's actually becoming a proper video game right now. Mike Pondsmith makes it clear that he is still involved with Orion, not as much as Cyberpunk 2077, but that's specifically because now they have somebody on the team who handles much more of the interfacing with CDPR. So Pondsmith can instead work on things he likes more freely. And he does mention seeing the scripts for the game, the new types of cyberware being designed and implemented, but also some of the new cities that we'll be able to explore in Orion.
I spent a lot of time talking to one of the environment guys, and he was explaining how the new place in Orion, because there's another city we visit. I'm not telling you any more than that, but there's another city we visit, and Night City's still there, but I remember looking at it and going, yeah, I understand the feel that you're going for this, and this really does work. And it doesn't feel like Blade Runner. It feels more like Chicago gone wrong. And I said, yeah, I can see, this working.
So that quote is genuinely one of the biggest reveals we've had thus far for Orion. And it does confirm, at the very least, that this sequel will have us going to another city that looks like a rather destroyed Chicago. But if you do know your Cyberpunk lore, that also is just kind of Chicago? We don't know a ton about Chicago in Cyberpunk, but it has been speculated already that the next game will go to that city because you could see these advertisements for a Chicago maglev opening soon in Night City. Some fans thinking this could be a tease for that next game and city location. The last we hear about Chicago proper, it was hit by a plague that was created by the federal government. In 2012, that plague wipes out 200,000 people from the city, and in the years that follow, reportedly 90% of Chicago gets abandoned as a result. But of course, based off this advertisement, by the time of 2077, things are at least partially rebuilt. And looking back at that Mike Pondsmith quote, Chicago, if it went in the wrong direction, is basically just Chicago in Cyberpunk's lore. So it does make me wonder if he's just talking about Chicago here, but not wanting to spoil that Chicago will be one of the cities we can visit in Cyberpunk 2, so he's making things seem a bit vague to not accidentally leak anything, even though he kind of did already. Although that might not be the most popular interpretation, what many fans are taking this quote to mean is that Night City is still here. In Cyberpunk lore, Night City is really the special metropolis that basically all of the Cyberpunk tabletop games take place in. Moving away from Night City for the sequel would be a notable departure and very unexpected. We know CDPR is moving away from Red Engine and instead switching to Unreal Engine 5, and I think that alone is a really big consideration here. I know quite a few people, and I have to imagine quite a few people at CDPR would really love to see Night City and Unreal Engine 5. And instead, what Mike Pondsmith might have meant is that there is a second city in addition to Night City that we can go to. Perhaps it's still just being Chicago, like I mentioned earlier, but he didn't want to spoil that, so instead he says Chicago-like. Either way, things are starting to really ramp up with Cyberpunk 2077 and even its sequel. Internally at CDPR, a bunch is being worked on right now, and we're starting to see teases slip through of some of that. And get subscribed for more. As soon as more content starts coming, I will keep you up to date, and more definitely is coming. CDPR has an earnings call in just a bit over a week, and Cyberpunk on Switch is dropping on June 5th, which very well may be the timing for our next major update for this game.